What's going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of Skullstream does some shit. Okay, for real though, what we're going to be talking about today is different uses of our time as streamers. Now, if you're a streamer, you know there's no shortage of things to waste your time on. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, there's no shortage of things to spend your time doing. So we're going to talk about the most effective ways to spend your time in streaming. So stay tuned, and here we go. Okay, number one on our list of effective ways to spend our time on Twitch is going to be relationships. Now, I recommend that you spend about 4 hours a week developing your relationships with people. And the reason for that is when you're a small streamer, one new relationship represents a significant portion of your stream. So think about it. If you have 5 viewers, if you have 5 concurrent viewers, and you make one new friend a week, you now have 6 concurrent viewers. You increase attendance in your stream by 20% over 1 week by meeting only one person. So that's huge. When you first start, the main way to grow your stream is just by making personal connections with people. So this is why I recommend you always spend at least 4 hours a week, especially when your stream is small, developing a relationship. And your relationships don't have to be with other streamers. Your relationships should be on people who are interested in your content. You don't want to try and facilitate relationships with people who just don't want to see your content. There are going to be plenty of streamers out there who really they're kind of interested in your community, but they don't really like your content and what you're making for the rest of the world. What you want to find is people who are interested in what you're making for everybody else. Okay, so the theme that you're going to see in this video is the fact that I usually suggest not spending so much time on social media, not spending so much time on Twitter, not spending as much time on Instagram and other saturated social media outlets. The reason for that is these platforms are old and very saturated and very competitive. And what you'll find if you pay attention for any length of time is that the more social proof you have on Instagram and on Twitter, the more you stand out, which is the same thing as on Twitch. And nobody is advocating on Twitch that you should only make content on Twitch these days. The common accepted suggestion is that you make content elsewhere and transfer that audience back to Twitch. And Twitter and Instagram are both very low on organic discovery right now. So I don't recommend them as a main use of your time. If anything, just use them in your spare time. But we're going to talk about another one later, TikTok, that's way more useful for being organically discovered. And that's really what most people are looking for when they're using Twitter and they're using Instagram to grow their stream, is they're looking for that organic discovery. Now, what I suggest in place of Twitter and Instagram is using that time to have one-on-one conversations in Discord. And more importantly, inviting your friends to play a game, to a conversation, have discussions. Basically have as many one-on-one interactions as you can so you can start building rapport with people so that they start coming to you to ask questions about whatever your subject matter expertise is. We'll talk more about that later. The last thing that I'll mention here is when you contact people on Discord and play games with them, that you actually do that off stream, because the people that play with you off stream are going to be the people that are interested in you, your personality, and the content that you offer overall. The people on stream, there's a potential for them to kind of want to just be on stream because you're on stream. So to avoid that risk, do all of your interactions on Discord off stream first. And if you find people that you really like off stream, then you can invite them to appear on stream. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is making primary content. Now, I want you to think about your primary content in terms of becoming a subject matter expert at something. There are lots of streamers on Twitch. Twitch is saturated as hell. So you want to give people a reason to come to your stream. Like, imagine your stream is on a street and both sides of the street are lined with different shops. You can think of these shops as other streamers. You want to give people a reason to come into your shop, and you want to give people a reason that they recommend their friends come to your shop. Now, you might think that entertainment value is enough to do this, and I'm going to tell you, as a streamer of 4 years and a partner of 2, no, this is not enough. People have to know what kind of value they're going to get from you. And entertainment value is all over Twitch. It's interchangeable. Streamer A is usually as good as streamer B, which is as good as streamer C. There are plenty of streamers that have entertainment value, but there aren't many streamers that are subject matter experts at whatever they're doing on Twitch. Now, if you think of your favorite streamers, they're usually going to be subject matter experts in whatever they're streaming. It could be games, it could be art, it could be creative ventures, it could be anything. But usually the ones that you watch have expertise in whatever they're streaming. Okay, Skull, so how the heck do I become a subject matter expert? Well, really, it's simple. You'll need to make 3 pieces of content overall. Number 1, you need the intro guide. And the intro guide is really great because if you get a raid from somebody from a community that doesn't play the same game as you play, or a community that doesn't even play video games at all, you have a chance to capture the interest of that community if you have an intro guide to whatever you're streaming. So here's your intro guide. You give it to the new people that come in and they can immediately get up to speed on whatever it is you're doing. And they can become interested, and maybe they can become members of your community. But you're giving them a way to learn the game where you're the person delivering the information. So to them, you become the expert. The second piece of content that you need to make are more intricate guides detailing the roles or detailing more specific information about your subject matter. If you're doing sculpting, it could be sculpting out of stone versus sculpting out of clay. And what you're trying to do here is A, educate people, give them value, but you're also explaining that your expertise is deeper than a cursory level. It's much deeper than just the intro or just the basic level, and that people will continue to have a reason to consume your content so they can continue learning. And the third piece of content that you want to create to establish yourself as a subject matter expert is you want to talk about the future and the past of whatever subject you're teaching people about. This could be about a game. You've heard of lore masters. This could be about, the past and future of woodworking, new developments. You want to prove to people that you're in touch with where this subject came from, which allows you to benefit from all the information that has ever been created about this specific subject. And you want to weigh in on where you think the future of your subject matter is going to go. So patches, game updates, new characters added, any kind of content that they're going to release that is going to affect the future of the game, or anything that you want to see in the future of the game. These are the things that you need to create so that people can A, join in the conversation, B, possibly affect the outcome of whatever game content that you're wishing existed, giving developers ideas, which they love, by the way. And you're also going to claim credit for the knowledge that has occurred up to the current date. So you've proved that you've gotten up to speed on everything that has happened since the inception of this topic, and that now, because you have this expertise and you have this deep well of knowledge, you can then make suggestions for how this should evolve in the future. Those are really the 3 pieces of content that you need to make to indicate that you know what you're talking about, you're invested in the topic, and you want to help other people learn and get up to speed on the thing that you do. The last thing that I'll say about primary content is that your primary content should be hosted on YouTube. Your primary content needs to continue to exist in a place that is accessible while you're off Twitch. Your primary content needs to be evergreen, mostly evergreen content, and it needs to be constantly finding new people for you and telling them, hey, I know about this stuff. I'm an expert on this stuff. You can come learn about this stuff with me in this place. And the reason that YouTube has the largest user base looking for information adjacent to streaming out of any other source online, it's more than any other website, even Reddit. And it's a search engine in and of itself. So if you're going to make evergreen content like those 3 pieces of content, your intro, your specific guides, and your past and future, whatever your subject is that you're covering, if you're going to make those 3 pieces of content, those content pieces need to be on YouTube, because you can't tell somebody to go watch an old VOD on Twitch. They will look at you like you grew 3 horns. They're not going to take you seriously. But if you tell somebody that you made a video about a specific subject like this on YouTube, they will definitely watch and they will definitely consume. And it's a resource that they can use to show their friends later that evidences you know what you're talking about. So they can recommend you to their friends without saying, hey, I know this person isn't live right now. Go watch their VOD, because they won't do it. But if you say, hey, this person made this YouTube content, check this out, they'll totally watch it. I recommend here per week is about 12 hours. Let me explain the 12 hours. I recommend each video that you make be about 10 to 15 minutes long. And the average accepted time that it takes to edit down a video is about an hour per minute of watchable video. So if your video is 12 minutes long, expect it to take 12 hours to edit. And this has actually been my experience. Of course, I'm early on in all of this. So I'm constantly figuring out how to be more and more efficient with the things I have set up and how I do my shooting now. But plan on it taking about 12 hours for one video a week. And if you can record multiple videos at a time, you can achieve efficiencies of scale and get out, 1-2 videos, or maybe record a batch of videos all at one time and release them over the next few weeks. So the next thing I want to cover is actually streaming itself. And I used to stream about 60 or 70 hours a week. And that's all that I did. I didn't make any YouTube content. I didn't make any content that existed off of Twitch. And I didn't make any content that passively found people to come watch me. And I completely regret that. I should have spent the last 4 years making more YouTube content than I made Twitch content. So I recommend streaming about 15 hours a week. And the reason that I don't recommend streaming more hours than that a week is you still have to make room for your primary content. And I strongly believe that YouTube should be your focus. You should be focused on making content that is going to live on the internet in a specific place forever. You shouldn't be focused on making content. You shouldn't be focused on making content that's only going to exist in a VOD after you're done going live. You should be focused on making evergreen content when you first start out that is going to keep finding people for you on YouTube for the rest of your streaming career, which is multi-year, by the way. Streaming is not a short endeavor, and people rarely blow up overnight. And 15 hours a week gives you opportunity to have multiple touch points with your community per week so that you can reinforce being part of their routine in their lives. Streaming is also the easiest out of the recommended activities on this list because with streaming, you don't have to prepare anything. You could just hit the go live button. Now, it's better if you do prepare things, but if you're making this other kind of content, if you're making that primary content on YouTube, and you're going to make the kinds of content that we're going to talk about later, you should be able to feature that on your stream, and it's actually going to raise your entertainment value because there's all these other things that you're doing anyway. So said differently, the different content that you're making is going to serve a purpose on your stream itself, and you'll be able to talk about the other things you've been doing during the week. Okay. So what is that other kind of content that we were talking about just now? That's going to be called secondary content. And these are going to be things that either enhance your primary content, so things that you use to make your primary content, like infographics that help you explain things, or articles you wrote that help you write the script for your primary content. Or they're also going to be things that you make as a result of making your primary content. So an example here is, say you made a YouTube video and you realize that most of that YouTube video is also listenable. Like you don't have to see the content in order to understand the point. And that would make great podcast content if you just took an hour to separate out the audio and then upload it to something like anchor.fm, which will then syndicate it to all these other platforms. So it's an hour of additional time to appear on a whole new platform with great listenable content. So I'll explain a little bit about the secondary content that I made this week that's giving rise to this video right now. So prior to recording, while I was doing my sunrise time lapse here, prior to recording, I was actually working on making an infographic that I could use to reinforce these points. I'm going to use the infographic on my website, and I'm going to use the infographic in this video to be able to easier explain all of these different portions. In addition to that, earlier this week, I wrote an article about what to focus on in streaming, which outlines all the points that we're talking about today. So by writing that article, it shortened the amount of time that it would take me to write a script for the video, gave me material to use to make the infographic, is now part of this video, which I can then convert into a podcast. So I get website content, I get an infographic, I get a YouTube video, and I get podcast content. And if I wanted to further break that down and take out portions to put up on, say, a Twitter or Instagram, even though I'm telling you not to spend as much time on those things, I could do that. And by making all of these different resources, so your YouTube content, infographics, your articles, you're going to have evidence that you actually did work on these things, that you actually know what you're talking about. You could send these things out later. I've actually gotten speaking engagement opportunities because of the website that I write, where I've been invited to conventions to speak about streaming, doing this kind of thing. So all of these different pieces of content that you're going to make are going to serve a purpose later on, and you're going to be able to send them to your friends, and your friends are going to be able to send them to other friends. Ha ha! Bet you forgot. Bet you thought I forgot. All right, we're going to talk about the secret sauce tip of the week. And the secret sauce tip of the week this week is going to be called Blue Ocean Strategy. The Blue Ocean Strategy is really cool. It's a great analogy. So think about sharks in an ocean. Think about what the water looks like when not that many sharks are around and there's plenty of food for the sharks. They don't have to interfere with one another. Cool. So you have this area that's all blue. Nice big blue ocean. Not a lot of competition. Then all of a sudden, more sharks pop up, and there's not enough food for everybody, so the sharks start eating one another. And they turn that water red. Do you want to be in that red water, or do you want to be that shark that goes and finds different blue water, different strategies to use, where you don't have to compete with as many people? A lot of the topics that we're going to talk about on this channel are going to include being in places that aren't saturated, because when you're trying to grow a smaller stream or even a smaller business, you don't want to hop into an arena that's already super competitive. You want to hop into blue water instead of red water. And all a blue water strategy is suggesting you do is find areas where there's not that much competition. Now, I talked to you earlier about podcasts. Podcasts in the streaming world are fantastic because there aren't that many of them. There are fewer podcasts right now than there are YouTubes. There are fewer podcasts right now than there are YouTube channels, and there are fewer podcasts now than there are Twitch streams. Podcasts are listened to on an average 3 times as long as YouTube videos are watched. So that if somebody watches your podcast content, they're probably going to be listening for a lot longer than they would either when you're streaming or even when you're doing YouTube. So it's a really, really good value, especially if you're already making YouTube content and all you have to do is separate out the audio. So we just talked about Blue Ocean Strategy, and that was our secret sauce tip of the week. By the way, if you liked that tip, please do the subscribe thing down below and like. And if you guys have any questions, or you guys think one of these particular tips was really useful, let me know which one you're going to use first in the comments down below. Okay, so we're just talking about a blue ocean strategy, and I wanted to mention trending platforms as another potential use of your time. And the reason for that is, at one time, Twitter and Instagram, at one time, Twitter and Instagram were both trending platforms. And on a trending platform, there's one indicator above all that makes people want to continue using that platform. That indicator is organic growth, meaning that you could use the platform, and based on how long you used it for, you would grow your account, you would grow your followers, you would grow your engagement, you would grow your comments just by being on that platform. Now, anybody that's used Twitter for any length of time and anybody that's used Instagram for any length of time knows that that's not necessarily the case these days, which is one reason that I recommend spending less of your time on those two platforms. But TikTok is currently the platform offering the most organic growth per amount of time spent on it. So I highly suggest that you test it out, try it out, make yourself an account, and just go there and see what it has to offer. I'm going to tell you the barrier for entry is really low because of the way the algorithm handles forwarding your content out. If you could figure out a way to connect your TikTok content with your stream content to get people to come to your stream and check you out, then you're kind of gold. But in general, there's always going to be a trending platform because when people stop getting those likes and people stop getting the engagement that they're after, they're going to be on the lookout for a new platform to use. Right now, that platform is TikTok. But in 6 years or 5 years, who the heck knows what it's going to be? It will probably change. Okay, so let's recap real quick. You're going to start out with relationships. You're going to do those for about 4 hours a week. Then you're going to make your primary content on YouTube for 12 hours a week. And you're going to do your best to become a subject matter expert. You're going to stream for 15 hours a week just so you get multiple contact points with your audience during that time. And you're going to make secondary content for 9 hours a week. And secondary content is going to be your website content, your podcast, your infographics, and your emerging or trending platform content like TikTok content. So if you like this video, do like and subscribe. And if you want the infographic, please check out the website. I'm also going to upload it into Discord. We have all sorts of conversations in there. And if you want to see me live on Twitch, I am live Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some of the things that we're going to talk about this week are coronavirus, Doom Eternal releasing, and the fact that Twitch partnered a hentai stream. No, I'm not even kidding. I'm not even over exaggerating here. Oh, and next week we're gonna have an awesome video. We're gonna talk about things that Twitch hates. Things like ambition, entitlement, and having too much control over your content. So we're gonna talk about all that stuff next week. So follow, like, and subscribe if you want to come back and see that video. And if you want to see the last video which I worked on, which was 5 technical tips, including how to make the microphone that I don't have sitting here sound good, including how to make a Blue Yeti sound good in literally 5 minutes, that's on this video. See you next week.